Jai Prabhuji. The force of karma brings us back here time and time again to complete unfinished work. Samsara is the Sanskrit word of the psychic phenomenon of rebirth. Yoga and Hinduism teach that this is not the first time we are born into a body, and probably not the last either. It takes many incarnations until the soul achieves moksha, or liberation from material identifications. In his commentary to Ishavasya Upanishad on Mantra 12, Prabhuji writes, Hinduism accepts that existence moves in eternal circles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. Even each of these cosmic states or pulsations is governed by its own deity. Brahma creates, Vishnu maintains, and Shiva dissolves. The manifested and unmanifested are not different realities, but two states of the same consciousness. Let me start with a story from the Bhagavata Purana. It appears in Canto 5, chapters 7 to 14. Bharata Maharaj was the king of the world. He was very just and pious. He was engaged in worshipping and sacrificial rituals. During his reign, the world was very peaceful and very prosperous. When his 5 sons came to age, he divided the kingdom among them, retired from royal duties and family life, and went to a holy place in the forest to spend the rest of his life as a mendicant, performing austerities, eating only fruits and vegetables the forest provided, meditating and worshipping. He became self-realized, and his love for God increased to the point that he was constantly immersed in bliss and an ecstatic state. One morning, while he was meditating on the riverbank, a doe came to drink, while a roaring lion scared it away. The doe was pregnant, and while escaping, she miscarried, and her baby fell into the stream. Bharata Maharaj, being very affectionate and protective, brought it to his ashram and cared for it. He assured the safety and comfort of the little fawn at any moment. And soon enough, a great bond was developed between the two. They ate together, slept side by side, and went together everywhere. It is said that as a result of his past activities, he developed this attachment and fell from his elevated spiritual state. On his deathbed, the deer was sitting by his side as if it was his son. The king mind was so engrossed with the animal, worrying for its well-being and safety after his passing. And in this way, he left his physical body. Consequently, he was reborn in a body of a deer. The Puranas convey truths that are not so concrete for the down-to-earth mindset. Let's see what this story tells us about karma and rebirth. What brings us back into body life after life is our desires. What is the power of desires? When I want an ice cream, the desire is not sitting in my freezer sending me signals. It is also not in my taste buds. The desire is a product of the ego. While the mind, which is thought that is based on knowledge and memory, proposes the application of the object. If we observe, we will find out that a desire appears in a very particular order. It starts with a sense of deficiency. I'm feeling empty or incomplete, like bored or lonely. It prompts will to fill the void. I need something like an entertainment or company, something that will distract me. And only then do I come up with an idea which object will complete the vacuum. I go to the fridge, standing in front of the open door, and think what could best satisfy me. In the end, I figure out that ice cream has the power to remove the disturbance. Can we stop a desire? When I want to lose weight, I have to stop eating ice cream, but I find it very difficult, right? Why is it difficult? It's a recreational food. I'm not eating it when I'm hungry. And also there are so many resources I need to put into having it. I have to go to the store, I have to spend money I worked for, while not having ice cream saves all that effort. No, it's not working this way. Desires are strong and compelling, and we will go great lengths to fulfill them. The only way to stop a desire would be to replace it with another desire, stronger one. I want so much to show to the party in my skinny jeans. All right, I can counteract a desire only with another stronger one. Let's take a brief moment to recap what we previously learned about the hierarchy of material manifestation. Pure consciousness is attributed with 5 plenitudes: Chit, Ananda, Icha, Jnana, and Kriya, namely consciousness, bliss, will, knowledge, and action. It undergoes a process of concealment of unity and manifestation of multiplicity. The original qualities do not disappear. Consciousness doesn't change, but it is experienced in a reduced form. Raga Kanchuka is the limitation of Icha Shakti, or will. It induces a sense of deficiency. So the original power is experienced through the ego as desire. But it is nonetheless an expression of will, of consciousness itself. Hence, we are in a constant attempt to regain the complete state. What is Maya, or illusion? It is to overlook the unity of consciousness, objectify the universe, and attribute that interpretation with the power to give us back the plenitude. So it means that the object we want is replaceable, while the desire itself is not avoidable. The desires are the essence of the egoic phenomenon, and as long as our endeavors are focused on the objectual world, by this force we will come back in search of fulfillment and happiness in objects. Now, how many people who are terminally sick or very old, who understand that they will die soon, feel that they lived up to their satisfaction? Not so many. Most wish to be given another chance to do more things, more time to realize their dreams. Old people often look back and wish they had done things differently. They wish to amend mistakes or to reconcile matters with long-lost relatives. Our life comes to an end before we are done. We're very much engaged and want to stay. So the story describes that due to his attachment, King Bharat was reborn as a deer. And it comes to teach us that our state of mind at the time of the passing of the body will determine which body we will get on our next birth. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Why the moment of death is so emphasized? Assume a scenario in which your house is on fire. Seeing all that is happening, what would you think of? Let me propose that you will be very worried about the well-being of your family. And if your family is safe, you will think about your assets. You're losing years of hard work. In those moments, you will not be the same persona you were in the yoga retreat, with spiritual gaze and hands pressed together in gratitude to nature and existence. No, you will be in fear. You will try to save wherever you can. So, let alone an imminent occasion, such as your own passing. This is our underlying state of mind and our true desires, the products of our actions, which work toward our next birth. So, what reincarnates? The Bhagavad Gita compares it to a person changing his garments and actually suggests that the change of body does not only happen when after death, but within one lifetime, the body constantly changes. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Our colon epithelial cells are constantly forming and dying. Their lifespan is just a few days. Skin cells regenerate every few weeks. Red blood cells a few months, 4 months. Bones 10 years. And our brain cells take our lifetime. When the brain cells die, the whole body dies as a result. The body constantly changes. Our physical body is the last link in the chain of the material manifestation. That is the densest layer that sustains for a very short period. The astral, however, exists longer. The finer the matter, the longer it lasts. The astral layer carries the karma in the chitta. At the time of death, we only shed the physical sheath, right? Though the game is not over. The subtle impressions from our past activities, our desires and fears do not dissolve. And that will bring us back quickly to reborn. And that takes us to Prabhuji's Kundalini Yoga book. In the beginning of the book, he gives a short description how the physical body is connected to the astral. The astral and physical bodies are united by a nadi resembling a silvery thread through which vital energy flows. The physical body dies when this thread is cut, separating from the astral body forever. What happens with the death of the body? Biological death, by definition, is the permanent stopping of all the vital bodily activities. And this is indeed all we see. Thinking that it's also the termination of consciousness is a superimposition. It comes from modern science, which holds the mind as conscious, referring to it as a derivative of the brain. An animated body is a sign of the presence of consciousness. An unconscious person doesn't move. When a person is irresponsive, but he's not in pajamas in his bed, we are urged to check for vital signs, because the living body has to have normal connection with consciousness. Prabhuji mentions in the text separation from the physical body. We discussed previously the different layers of the body: the physical, the astral, and the causal. The physical layer, the annamaya kosha, consists only of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The combined elements are inert and are formed on top of the prana, the astral layer. What is my hand? It's a function that grabs hold or releases object, or it can also used for communication by gestures. The source of the movement is not in the fingers. It follows a nerve impulse that activates muscles, and those functions are of the pranamaya kosha, or the vital sheath. But they are originating in the mind, in the intellect, the manomaya kosha and the vijnanamaya kosha. The 5 basic elements is the food layer dressed upon the astral body to perform in the realm of the substances. So this body is the one that's being cast off. Physical death is not the only instance of disengagement of the astral from the physical. It partially happens every night in our sleep. The mental sheath, or the mind, withdraws from the physical, and we experience a world and activities during dreams, all while our body is laid motionless upon the bed. In this instance, our reality is not connected with the physical realm, and yet there is awareness and there are experiences. In deep sleep, also the mental sheath is shut, and the causal sheath withdraws from the physical and the mental. And then, although our heart pumps blood and our lungs exchange air, there is no world, no thoughts, no experiences. There's only awareness. How do we know there is awareness? If someone calls our name, we wake up. And if we wake up, we can testify that we slept. So, the biological death itself is a process. The cells die gradually, beginning with the brain cells, which die if deprived of oxygen for more than 3 minutes, and cause all the physiological systems to stop. Muscle cells continue to live for a few more hours, and bone and skin cells still live for a few days. So what is the point of death? It's when the connection of the pranas with the physical body is severed, and all the pranas leave the body permanently. In his commentary to Ishavasya Upanishad, Prabhuji writes, "A contraction occurs. Consciousness does not dissolve. An embodied person is like a whirlpool in the sea, and the unmanifested consciousness is like water. At death, the whirlpool dissolves, but nothing really disappears because everything is water. The water remains devoid of a form and a mind. The body-mind complex is nothing more than a whirlpool in the sea. It is a localization of consciousness where manifested reality appears. With death, this whirlpool disperses, and its content remains as consciousness. Elements of previously dispersed content can return to form new locations and finite minds. The residues of a previous finite mind can form a new whirlpool. This is what we call reincarnation." King Bharat renounced material life, and his only desire was to devote himself to God. He achieved an ecstatic state of spiritual joy. So what went wrong that he fell from his elated status? I echo Prabhuji saying that the last obstacle before one becomes spiritually awakened is the desire for liberation. Only when one gives up that last desire, the contraction of the ego releases, and we let go of the last attachment. The king had pure and noble intentions to immerse himself in love for the Lord, and yet it was the dictate of his desires and the fruits of his work. Karma stops accumulating at the point in which one stops being the doer. It is the difference between I want to be liberated, I want enlightenment, and abandoning of all desires and all egoic affiliations. The story continues. Despite being born as an animal, because of the advancement in practice he has already achieved, the formerly King Bharat remembered his past life experience. He was spiritually inclined. Spending his life in atonement, he left his birthplace and went to the ashram where he practiced while living in his former body, to spend his life there in penance, eating only dry leaves and focusing his mind and heart on the divine. In this way, he waited for the death of the body. We are born again to continue what we've started. It is illustrated by his return to the same place of practice. Animals cannot choose right or wrong. They act only according to their nature, and their cognitive development is automatic. In my interpretation of the story, that served as a blessing for this saintly soul, and it was also in perfect alignment with his desires. He had no interest in worldly or social goals, so now he could not elect his activities. All he could do was to eat, sleep, walk here and there, and do what deer does. But he could fulfill his last desire to concentrate his mind on the object of his aspiration. After giving up the body of a deer, he was born again, this time into a Brahmana family, to very religious and educated parents. His name was Jad Bharat. In this life, his sole resolution was liberation from material bondage. He pretended to be dumb, blind, and deaf. In this way, he meant to provide for himself social seclusion and exception from worldly obligations and social norms. So, Bharat remembered his past life, and therefore he was determined and resolute in his spiritual endeavor. But many people will argue that we don't remember our past lives, so how do we supposed to learn? Let's make this important distinction between the memory of our brain and the samskaras. Samskara is a sort of memory, but not of a particular object or event. It is rather the impression that the event made in the chitta. Those impressions efficiently dictate our automatic, so to speak, inclinations, behavior and reactions. Our personality, our challenges, aspirations and patterns created in past experiences, even if we don't remember the event. Our psychological foundations are forming mainly in the early years of our life, even though as infants or toddlers, we have very little memory from this stage, if at all. So, we don't remember the details of our experiences, but impressions are kept. And this is what makes up our world of feelings and associations. In the brain cells, we store details like images, sounds, aromas. We don't remember our past lives because the brain cells die with the biological death of the body. So that information is lost. The chitta is of the astral layer, which survives physical death. And in any way, remembering particular events is not favorable. Knowing the terrible things we've done or gone through in other lifetimes will only torment us and keep us back with anxiety, let alone what we get in our present life. It's more than enough. So we're better off starting afresh, carrying only the wisdom and the seeds to continue the learning process. After the passing of his parents, Jad Bharat was placed in the care of his father's second wife and her sons, who bullied and ridiculed him. However, he accepted it with indifference. Affection and rejection for him were alike, and transcending pleasure and pain, he was eventually freed from samsara. The story tells us that either good or bad karma still keeps us in the loop. Being a king doesn't grant freedom, nor does worship, religious rites, dharma or knowledge. The key to this door is only shifting away from egoic identification to the self that is aware of all the experiences. King Bharat bonded with a deer and was also born as such. As Prabhuji's disciple, I see here symbolism. Prabhuji quotes the words of Friedrich Nietzsche from his book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Zarathustra looked at the people and marveled. Then he spoke thus: Man is a rope fastened between animal and superman, a rope over an abyss. A dangerous going across, a dangerous wayfaring, a dangerous looking back, a dangerous shuddering and staying still. What is great in man is that he is a bridge and not a goal. What can be loved in man is that he is a going across and a down-going. Human life is the transition from the animal to the divine. He refers to the dialectic that works in the human being between our instinct, that is of the animal, and compels us to sustain our physical body, and our self-awareness and the capacity to act against the instinct. The science of Kundalini Yoga affirms that the order of the chakras reflects the level of consciousness. The Muladhara chakra, or root chakra at the base of the spine of the human body, is related to the instinct level. It is the lowest realm on which humans function and is the highest in the animal kingdom. When a person is situated in the root chakra, he is moved by instinct. His activities revolve around facilitating the existence of the physical body, sustaining it, protecting it, nourishing it, and continuation of the species, much like animals. From the root chakra, the consciousness in the human is going and revealing itself. As consciousness is situated in the higher chakras, the level of self-awareness, aspirations, inclinations, etc., transitions accordingly to the mental level, to the intellectual, and to the spiritual. When consciousness is situated in the Sahasrara chakra, at the crown of the head, it is the state of realization of unity. Spiritual advancement is measured by the level of that revelation. Agami karma is our reactions to what comes our way. It is where human beings assume responsibility in the process and chooses which path to proceed. The deer in the story represents the animal nature that persists in the human. King Bharat had the impulse to protect the animal nature and nourish it. Even while dying for the world, this separation from the animal was difficult and troublesome. He wanted its continuation. It is a strong force that overshadows our divine nature, and it is extremely difficult to transcend. Prabhuji writes, "The human being is not something fixed. He is a transition from the animal to the celestial. He is a path that leads from the instinctive and passes through the intellect to arrive at the divine. In man, consciousness completes the evolutionary process and begins an involutive process. Man is no longer an animal, but he has yet to reach his divinity. He has not fully expressed his possibilities or his potential. While he has abandoned his animal nature, he is not yet what he can be, nor has he manifested his highest splendor. He still wanders through the desert after enslavement in Egypt and has not yet arrived in the promised land. From the animal, the human being is born, while from the human being emanates the enlightened being, or Messiah." Jai Prabhuji.